The PlayStation 4 is dead, my friends. You may have seen that production has ended. They're going to stop selling the console. It is completely over, and it's just got me feeling a type of way. I would like to start by saying that I don't believe older is better. There's usually quite a lot of that in this gaming sphere. People playing all these old retro games. I love myself a PS2 game, but listen, I'm playing modern games whether you like it or not. Need for Speed Heat, my joint favorite Need for Speed game. GTA Online. I'm an actual GTA Online enjoyer for the most part. But what's pretty obvious is that the PlayStation 4 generation was a crossover generation. Oh my god, this game is so intense. This saw benefits based on it being pretty much a crossover generation from the previous generation, where Sony finally took its creativity, the push of multiple genres, the multiple games into its stride. And that was felt throughout the whole industry. But it was definitely a sign of things to come with this current generation we find ourselves in. Clearly, I thought it would be fitting to start with Drive Club, one of my absolute favorite games of all time. Of all time, no question. We could jump back to The Crew, for example. Or, actually, no, we can't. The Crew 2, then, where you could literally just drive out of the gate and all of a sudden, you're at the racetrack. Again, just to be clear, I love me The Crew 1 a little bit more than I love me The Crew 2. However, The Crew 2 still held on to the massive, inspirational open world that was the whole damn United States in a video game where we could, okay, not the whole, but like a slimmed down version of the whole United States in a video game. And we got this in the same generation as the other one, which is so kind of insane to think about. The Crew 1 and The Crew 2 in the same generation. Nowadays, for example, in The Crew Motorfest, I don't know if there's going to be another Crew on this PlayStation 5 or Xbox Series X generation. Or may I present to you the rebirth of Need for Speed in its modern times? My mind still can't comprehend as to why this game is just, not even just this. Put this and Drive Club side by side, and they are honestly some of, even by today's standards, the most beautiful games you've ever seen. Could someone explain it to me? The hardware in these consoles, of course we're running at 30 frames. That's why this video is in 30 frames. Those are these games at 30 frames. Of course, I completely understand that, but these consoles are supposedly 3, 4, 5, 6 times more powerful, especially when you come to the Pro. Oh my god, my PS5. This is not 30 frames. I'm playing this on a PS5 Pro, so I don't know why it's struggling so much. 2015 is a little ropey sometimes. The whole point of this new generation was... Oh god, I don't miss crash cams. Oh god, they're back, aren't they? Please remove them, Criterion, you bloody buttholes! Not only did Need for Speed 2015 take 2 years to essentially reboot the whole franchise, build a brand new game that was completely different to the last, because the one before it was Need for Speed Rivals. 2 years later, after that, we got Need for Speed Payback. Again, of varying quality. But the fact of the matter is we got a whole new experience. Different location, different characters, different cars, more custom... Only 2 years after we got the other one? It just doesn't happen anymore. It's impossible. Don't you dare. Yes! Oh, you got me. And only 2 years later, we get Need for Speed Heat. What the? How? Unbound took what, 3? I guess that was kind of the fault of Battlefield, but the obvious metric to me, and I think this is really, really important. The PlayStation 4 throughout its whole life cycle, to be fair, which is, well, it was 11 years, opposed to the current PS5. What have I done to the gearing on this? What have I done? Okay, PlayStation 4, 11 years, 3,500 games. PlayStation 5, we're currently halfway through the cycle that the PlayStation 4 had. We have 960 games currently native to the PlayStation 5. 960. We are way off of where it should be, and that kind of speaks volumes. And realistically, really reinforces my point that the bar for entry in terms of cost is the biggest significant issue that the industry is facing right now. I think it would be really interesting to look at the numbers and how much the average cost for a PlayStation 3 game was, a PlayStation 4 game was, and a PlayStation 5 game was. But I can definitely guarantee, at least to get greenlit, you are looking at a hell of a lot more money these days, which I just, if I'm honest, don't understand when most games look no better, provide no better than the previous generation. All we've got is an increase in frame rate, a doubling in most cases. And the sad part is the games that I've shown today, very quickly, very briefly, excluding Grid, excluding Dirt Rally, excluding Dirt numbered games as well. All of these are now obviously dead completely. Thanks so much. We are coming to the end of the PlayStation 5's console primary focus life cycle, as in the PlayStation 6 is supposedly coming out in the next couple of years. At a push, it's probably gonna be 3 years, which again is not that far away, and we are so behind on the amount of games. I cannot really list a huge amount of catalog of games. Not just talking PlayStation here, I'm using it as an example for the generation, because realistically this generation by far, there's no question which way people have gone. They've gone with the PlayStation. I love Sony's original IP. For example, Infamous, Ratchet and Clank, but I love Resistance, Killzone. Those games are just gone. They're probably not coming back. We know Ratchet and Clank's coming back, but it's just not as good as it used to be. And again, my favorite Ratchet and Clank, I've played all of them. The PS3 generation, in my opinion, had some of the best Ratchet and Clank games, and the PS2 as well. But that's besides the point. We're coming to the end, and we've had one Need for Speed and one Forza for this generation. And it's not even a consistent rule. The PS4 era of Need for Speed games that we've just shown today are all no question, better than any that were available for the PlayStation 3. I mean, technically, Carbon was on there, but, like, it was also on PS2. You know what I'm saying? So it's not as if, oh, PS2 better. Yes, of course, PS2 really great. But it's clearly not, oh, older is better, because the PS3 Need for Speeds stank. How did we go from a game every year on PlayStation 2 to every 2 years on PlayStation 3 to every 2 years on PlayStation 4 to every 5 to 7 years on PS5? Take me back. Take me back. I'm not mourning the death of the PlayStation 4 because I also don't really think that was an impeccable generation. I think the PlayStation 4 generation was actually more of the start of the decline of how long games took, how few games we got, more expensive and complicated development for very little reason overall. I just miss the times where it was less difficult to create something maybe a little bit different. Infamous, for example. I don't like superheroes. I don't really care for superheroes. But in a game where, like Infamous, you can pick to choose to be good or bad. You can make those decisions yourself. Again, Ratchet & Clank, a super simple platformer that, quite frankly, should be able to release a game very frequently. It should be lower budget. It should be using similar character models. But no, the most recent Ratchet & Clank games have all had new engines because why not? Okay, maybe not new engines, but like significantly improved upon each time. But it doesn't need to be. I should expect like 3 or 4 of them in a generation with new stories continuing on, not getting bigger and bigger and bigger budget every single time, even though the game itself, quite frankly, ends up being quite literally the same. Like, nothing significant changes. Oh, the loading time's amazing. I'm just really hopeful that overall reality hits this industry, and this is no question the worst possible generation that I've experienced thus far. I mean, I went from PlayStation 1 all the way through, and it's maybe a little bit different, in my opinion, from Microsoft, because they've been releasing some pretty cool IPs and some new stuff's coming. But again, it's all taking so long for them to do that by the time it comes out, it's probably going to be a new bloody Sony, PlayStation, Xbox, whatever. I'm hopeful the industry wakes up from this nightmare. It needs to, whether that's through a damn industry crash, through just something. The problem is, crashes these days are really difficult to track. The world is so wealthy in the way these days that a crash in the same way that happened previously, I just feel like it's not gonna happen. But what we've had is a slow ripping apart of studios, just gutting, even after successful games. But from a AAA viewpoint, I'm struggling here. I can't really find many significant games this generation that I've been like, this is a highlight, this is a highlight. Gran Turismo 7? Possibly. Also on the PlayStation 4 generation, and is essentially a PS4 game. So that's a last-gen game. God, look at this game. And the fact that this is 30 frames and locked at that makes me painful. It pains me inside. One day you'll be unlocked, my baby. I love you. A debatable standout for me is, of course, Need for Speed Unbound, which again was also supposed to be a last-gen game. Maybe Forza Motorsport. What is the end goal of this industry? Gutting out studios, reducing the amount of staff, games still taking 5 years instead of 2 or 3, taking less creative chances and going more for the obvious FPS game, which even from people that love FPS games, again, not me, I don't love FPS games. I've heard many of them saying like, things are getting super stale, things are getting really boring, I want something different. And then you get franchises that just, quite frankly, are new to the sphere. They spend so much money to the point where if it's slightly unsuccessful or only just breaks even, it's not worth continuing. How does that make any sense? It's a new franchise. It's essentially for most people. You can't expect millions and millions of copies based on that. Your expectations are way too high. No, I've changed my mind. You know what? There is one standout game this generation that I very much enjoyed. Astrobot. Now that's a good game. Still should have been Little Big Planet.